वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी शोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी शोधानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन शोधानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमन हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय स्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन धाम की जय ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय मायापुर नवधाम की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna.
all glories to the assembled devotees Hare
Hare Krishna.
all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Bol Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining for our daily Srimad Bhagavatam study at ISKCON of Philadelphia. Today is a very auspicious day, the appearance of Varāha Deva, the boar incarnation of the Lord. So today we will discuss on the Lord's appearance as Varāha Deva. So there is no scheduled words per se, but I'll share one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. From the Brahma Samhita, and then we'll recite that. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो
ॐ नमो
भगवते वासुदेवाय।
वासुदेवाय।
Okay, so this is from Brahma Samhita 5.39. I'll recite this words 3 times and then you all can please recite as well. And this is the same meter that we have been reciting all these previous verses. And this is the words that Prabhupada has also often quoted, especially when he gave a class on this Lord Varaha's appearance day. रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारमकरोद्भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं समभवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारमकरोत् भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं समभवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारमकरोत् भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं समभवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. Hare Krishna, please recite.
हरे कृष्ण। रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारम् अकरोद् भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं स्वभवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि।
हरे कृष्ण। रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् ननावतारम् अकरोद् भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वं स्वभावत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि।
हरे कृष्ण। रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारम् अकरोद् भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं सम्भवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दम् आदिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। हरे कृष्ण। थैंक यू।
Anyone else? No? Okay. We go to the synonyms. Rama Adi, the incarnation of Lord Rama, etc. Murtishu, in different forms. Kala Niyamena, by order of plenary portions. Tishthan, existing. Nana, various. Avataram, incarnations. Akarot, executed. Bhuvaneshu, within the worlds. Kintu, but. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Swayam, personally. Samabhavat, appeared. Paramaha, the supreme. Puman, person. Yaha, who. Govindam, Govinda. Adipurusham, the original person. Tam, him. Aham, I. Bhajami, worship. Translation: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Narasimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions. Purport: his subjective portions as the avatars, viz. Rama, etc., appear from Vaikunta, and his own form Krishna manifests himself with Vraja in this world from Goloka. The underlying sense is that Krishna Chaitanya, identical with Krishna himself, also brings about his appearance, the direct manifestation of God himself. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, primarily for my own purification. And hopefully I can speak something that will also benefit all of us and for the pleasure of the Lordships and all the Vaishnavas here. Before I speak, I seek blessings and permission from all the assembled Vaishnavas. So this verse is a very beautiful verse. Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan. So before we discuss about the actual pastime or the Leela of Lord Varahadev, I thought it's interesting and important to, to understand the mood in which we have to hear these pastimes and the purpose why the Lord appears. Yeah. And how we should be understanding and hearing these pastimes and the importance of hearing and understanding these pastimes. So Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That Govinda or Krishna, who is the Adi Purusha or the original person, he's taking so many forms. Yeah. Narsimha, Vamana, Varāha. And then it says Ramadi Murtishu. Even in Rama means pleasure or enjoyment. Ramadi Murtishu, he comes as Rama, he comes as Balarama, he comes as Parashurama. So all these incarnations he is taking, yeah, and this is why, and all is for Krishna's pleasure, for Krishna's enjoyment. Unlike the living entities, because of my own karma, I may be forced to take birth, right? Depending on my activities in this life, my next life I may take birth as a crocodile, as a fish, or some other animal species, depending on how I utilize this life and depending on also what I am thinking at the end of this life when I leave this body. So accordingly, I'll get a suitable body. And that is all I'm forced to take birth by the laws of nature. Yeah. But the Lord here, he's appearing in all these various incarnations just for pleasure, for enjoyment. And Prabhupada gives a wonderful example. And I think we all can identify with this. Most of us have children, some of us have grandchildren, right? And doesn't matter who he or she is, could be even the president or prime minister of any country. Yeah, they have children or grandchildren. We all at some point in time, yeah, have become a horse for our child, right? And the child is on the back and we are walking on our knees and hands on the floor. Is that right? Anybody has done this? Have you done this for your child or grandchild? No? Okay. So yeah, at least I did it for my son. So a prime minister or a president, a great person, may also act like a horse for his child or grandchild. And he's enjoying. That's his enjoyment. He's not the horse. He's just playing like a horse. Yeah, so this is the enjoyment. Similarly, the Lord also Keshavadrita Sukara Rupa or Keshavadrita Varaha Rupa. Uh, he appears in different forms, not in, and that is not by karma. It's not that he is forced to take. No, out of his own accord, he comes out of his own accord. And everything is for his enjoyment, and he enjoys performing these wonderful pastimes, whether it is killing demons, fighting with the demons, or performing all these wonderful activities. He enjoys them, and ultimately everything is for Krishna's pleasure. Just like we also, as part and parcel of Krishna, right? Mamaivamsa Jiva Loka. We are also part and parcel. We are also seeking enjoyment in everything we do in this material world. But when we try to seek this enjoyment outside of Krishna, then that is illusion. And that is going to trap us and bind us to this cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. So when we go back home, back to Godhead, then we can also enjoy together with Krishna in the spiritual world. Yeah. So Krishna is performing many activities or many leelas, and there is no difference between Krishna or his activities, right? His name, form, activities, they're all apps on the absolute platform. Yeah. And this brings us to the next point. The first point was everything is meant for Krishna's enjoyment, and he enjoys performing all these wonderful pastimes. And the second thing is by we hearing and these occasions like today and every day, yeah, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, and on these special occasions like this, these are like those spikes or Thanksgiving Day sales. Today is the Varāha Deva appearance day. We can hear about these activities and get benefited. Yeah, thousands of incarnations. It's explained just like the waves in the ocean. Can we count the waves? No. There are unlimited incarnations of the Lord. They are continually going on. So by hearing these incarnations, we all those impediments that are in our heart, nashta prayeshu abadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. By hearing all these wonderful leelas and activities of the Lord, then whatever is all the contaminants in our heart, abadreshu, that which is not favorable, they're all washed away. Yeah. And the other important point is, if this second canto, we have been talking about a lot of impersonalism, right? Imagine, uh, without any of these leelas, without any of these activities, how long can we just meditate on the impersonal Brahman? No activities, no leela. How long? Yeah. But if you see these leelas, unlimited activities are there, and newer, and you hear from these wonderful devotees, and they bring in so nice different perspectives of the Lord's incarnations, better understanding, scrutinizingly study and hear so much. Then every day we have something new to hear. Otherwise, in the impersonal concept, there's nothing, there's no pleasure. Like, Prabhupada gives this example. If you're flying in the sky, in the plane, or you're in the sea. Yeah. How long? After some time, you're going to get sick. Seasickness, air sickness is going to come. So we all need variety. Yeah. And this variety is there in Krishna also. And by hearing these wonderful pastimes, the other important thing is in the Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter. Anybody remembers text 9? What is it? Yes. which talks about what happens when we hear about the appearance and activities of the Lord. Anyone remembers? Yeah, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tatvataha Tyaktva Deha Punarjanmanaiti Mameti So Arjuna. So he says, whoever understands Tatvataha, my activities, that person Tyaktva Deha Punarjanma. So when he leaves this body, he will not have Naiti Mameti So Arjuna. He will not have rebirth. So Krishna is saying that if you understand these activities, then you will not take birth again and you will come back home, back to Godhead. So with these two points, that everything is meant for Krishna's pleasure and Krishna performs all these activities, all these unlimited incarnations, he appears out of his own accord for his own pleasure and to give pleasure to his devotees. And the fact that by hearing these attentively and understanding these activities, we will be freed from all the contaminations and go back home, back to Godhead. So in this mood, our acharyas instruct us to hear these leelas, hear these activities of the Lord. Yeah, and there is one other small story that Prabhupada gives about the cobbler and the learned Brahmana, right? I won't go into the details of the story, but the essence there was, this learned Brahmana, he was very knowledgeable about all the Vedas and everything. But when Narada Muni told him that the Lord was threading an elephant through the needle hole, he did not have any faith. He did not accept. He said, "Oh, go away from here. I don't believe you." But the same thing when he told this cobbler, anybody remembers how did the cobbler react?
He said that Lord can do anything, He put a small seed in the ground, and the big banyan tree comes out, of the small. So why Lord cannot do that, put a thread elephant through the needle, through the hole of the needle, so it can be done.
Yes, Prabhu, yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, and it was not blind faith. He gave this wonderful example of how in a small seed, the whole huge tree is, when the Lord can put into a tiny seed, nothing is impossible. He's the greatest of the greatest. He's God. He can do anything. He had understanding that God is the greatest and the greatest. Impersonalists also admit that God means He is unlimited, He is infinite. But when it comes to His Lord taking avatara in this material world, and then they take it different. Or they say, oh, this is a myth, or they allegory, or they start criticizing. The mental speculators, they try to restrict God within their limited tiny brain. But this Vedic process, and this is very important, the Vedic process for understanding this absolute truth is to receive it in this parampara as it is. Because yes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is inconceivable. We cannot measure Him, but we can hear of His activities from authorized sources. And because we are all intimately connected as part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because we are part and parcel, by hearing about Him, our hearts will be cleansed. And this, then it will be revealed to us what is the loving intent of the Lord in all these incarnations. Then in that mood we can understand His pastimes, and in that mood we can be delivered. Yeah. So now with this background, I want to talk about the Varāha appearance. This boar, generally, at least in the material society, we look at boar is a wild animal. Yeah, not known much for its beauty or the kind of work it does. Yeah, but when the Lord appears in the form of a boar, he looks extremely beautiful and performs the most wonderful activities. Just like Lord appears in the human society as Lord Rama. Uh, and Lord incarnates in the animal society like as Varaha. And among the birds, he appeared as Hamsa, swan, yesterday we were discussing, and as Matsya in the aquatics. Yeah, so same way the Lord appeared as Varaha, a wild boar. Any guesses? Unlike the other incarnations, did he just appear once, twice, thrice as Varaha?
Many times in each millennium he appeared actually.
Yes. In this Bhagavatam that we are discussing, at least in this universe, he has appeared twice, right? Anybody knows what are these two Varaha incarnations called?
One is Svet Varaha, one is Rakta Varaha.
Yes, the Sveta Varaha, which is the whitish form of the boar, and the other is the Rakta Varaha or reddish form of the boar. Yes. So the Sveta Varaha appeared in the first Manvantara. Who was the Manu?
Swayambhu Manu.
Yes, Swayambhuva Manu. Yes. And the other is the Rakta Varaha, as Kaivalya Prabhu said, or Neela Varaha, and that appeared in the sixth Manvantara, which is the Chakshusha Manvantara. Yeah. And which Manvantara are we in now?
Seventh.
Yes. So as the Sveta Varaha, he retrieved the earth from the depths of the Garbhodaka ocean. Yeah. And as the Neela Varaha, what did he do? Anyone remembers?
He took the, I think Vedas or something from the ground, brought it up.
He killed Hiranyaksha.
Oh, Hiranyakshi, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He killed Hiranyaksha, the demon. So that's the one that we are very most popular, or most of us know. Yes. So we'll try to discuss both these appearances, the Sveta Varaha and Neela Varaha. Yeah. You all are able to follow me so far?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Okay. So basically, two forms of boar. One is the Sveta Varaha and the other is Neela Varaha or Rakta Varaha. The Sveta Varaha appeared during the first Manvantara with Swayambhuva Manu. And then we are talking about in the sixth Manvantara, Chakshusha Manvantara, he appeared as the Rakta Varaha when he killed Hiranyaksha demon. Okay, so first we'll talk about the Adi Varaha or Sveta Varaha, which appeared in the first Manvantara. So this was the Bhagavatam explains all this. So when you have time, you can go and read in the third canto. In the very, very beginning of the Sveta Varaha millennium, right at the beginning of the creation of this material world, Swayambhuva Manu appeared in front of Brahma. And the Bhagavatam discusses all this, how much Brahma was very pleased with Swayambhuva Manu, especially after how the four Kumaras disobeyed his instructions. So the Swayambhuva Manu reported to Brahma that, hey, look, the earth planet has fallen to the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean. And Brahma is the chief administrator for the creation of this material world, right? And he is also the direct representative of Krishna. So Manu went to Brahma with this calamity, and Lord Brahma heard everything with full attention, and he immediately started meditating. And the Bhagavatam describes this so beautifully that when Brahma started meditating, of course, as soon as he heard, he was perturbed, but he was not discouraged. As soon as he heard this happened, he was perturbed, but he was not discouraged. But he had full faith in Krishna. So he started thinking, oh, what can I do? I'm just responsible for the creation of this material world. And he said, only the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, should direct us what to do. And with this full conviction and faith that the Lord will direct, he started to think or meditate. Oh Lord, may you direct me what to do. And the Bhagavatam explains, from that thought and that thinking bore the solution of what his duty is. And that was by the mercy, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all of a sudden, what happened? While Brahma was engaged in the thinking, at that moment, from the nostril of Brahma appeared a small boar. From the nostril of Brahma appeared a small boar, and the Bhagavatam explains what was the size of this boar when it appeared from the nostril of Brahma. Anybody remembers?
Size of, I'm not sure, but size of small finger.
That's very close. Good guess. That was
tip of the thumb. Tip of the thumb, bro?
Yes, was not more than the upper portion of the thumb.
Yeah.
So, and while Brahma was observing this, right from his nostril, the boar appeared, and while he was observing, this boar became huge, like into a gigantic form, like a huge elephant. And guess what? As soon as Brahma and there were, these other sages like Marichi were there, they began to, discuss, what is this? And immediately Brahma came to a conclusion or understanding that this is some extraordinary entity. Has come in the form of a boar, in the pretense of a boar. And this is so very wonderful. This is how Brahma was thinking. And this Brahma, he was the supermost person in the universe. He could guess that this appearance of boar, was an avatar of Vishnu, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that kind of a form was never seen by him, never experienced by him. So the point the Bhagavatam explains that sometimes the symptoms of this incarnation of the Lord are so uncommon that even someone like Brahma can be perplexed. So while these sages and demigods were deliberating, Lord Boar, he made a tumultuous sound, and which echoed in all the directions. And Brahma and others, they were convinced that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Remember, this sound, or this sound of the voice of this boar incarnation was so pleasing to the devotees in the upper planets, in the Brahmaloka and Siddhaloka, but at the same time, to the demoniac people who heard it, it was the most dangerous sound, sound of the doom for their fate, for their, destruction. So all these great personalities in the upper material planets, what did they do? When they heard this Lord's tremendous sound, how did they reciprocate? Any guess? They started chanting Vedic hymns, like we see many times in many of the other appearances, other incarnations. So they all started chanting the Vedic hymns. Why are they chanting the Vedic hymns? To please the Lord. And the Lord immediately understood, and he was very pleased hearing these devotees chant. And the devotees were very pleased hearing that tremendous sound that the Lord made. So this was the nice loving exchange between the Lord and the devotees, the voice of the boar and the chanting of the devotees. They reciprocated with each other this way. And then again the boar made second time a resounding the boar made some sound to the Vedic prayers by all these devotees, which is, and we all know in the Bhagavad Gita, the 15th chapter, Krishna says, right, the purpose of all the Vedas is to know him, is to please him. Vedescha sarver ahameva vedya. Yeah. So the Lord understood, the devotees understood, and they were all reciting the mantras wonderfully, and it was very pleasing to the Lord. And before entering into the water, into the depth of the water to rescue the earthly planet, Lord Varahadev, he flew down from, remember, he became so huge like a giant elephant, right? So he flew down from the sky, slashing with his tail, and he swatted the clouds in the sky with his hoofs, and his glittering white tusks, and like I said in the beginning, ordinary wild boar in the material body may not be that pleasing and beautiful, but the Lord appearing as a wild boar was very, very beautiful. And ordinary boar cannot do any of these activities. Can it expand beyond its size? No. Can the ordinary boar perform any activities like this? No. But when the Lord appears, there is nobody. He is one without a second. So he went into the bottom of the ocean and rescued the earthly planet with his tusks. Yeah, and in this context, Prabhupada also gives an example of the Vaidhurya stone. Yeah, Vaidhurya stone. Anybody remembers what or knows what is the beauty of a Vaidhurya stone? What is it known for? It changes colors, right? Vaidurya stone is known for changing colors, but it's the same stone. Same way, the Lord appears like this in different incarnations, and only through devotional service to the Lord that we can understand these wonderful activities and incarnations of the Lord. And so anyway, the point was Brahma and others understood that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that he came to lift the earth, and because he is the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, he accepted this boar incarnation. Why? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita also, right? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir-bhavati bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamyam paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya ch dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So, either for killing of the demons or for the welfare of the earth, the Lord appears again and again. So he accepted this boar incarnation so that he could go to those bottom portion of that Garbhodaka ocean to lift the earth. Yeah. So this is about the Sveta Varaha incarnation. Yeah. And it's not these incarnations. Okay, I wanted to mention one more point, but I'll talk about that in the end, about how not everybody can accept or understand these incarnations of the Lord, especially the materialistic mentality. I'll talk about that in the end, but a couple of points on this Sveta Varaha incarnation is that Brahma contemplated on how to raise the earth, and from his thought, came this Sveta Varaha, right? So the Lord, because he appears in the form of a boar, it doesn't reduce, nor is this form inferior or its material. Yeah. No matter what form and shape the Lord takes, he is always transcendental, full of knowledge and full of mercy. So we have to understand this, that the boar was divine. Yeah. And how the roar of the boar, how he made that tremendous sound, it dispelled all the fear that Brahma and others had about what to do. And at the same time, it made them fearless. So this sound is all auspicious, and it was reassuring to his devotees and making them fearless. Yeah. Unlike the demons. Yeah. And also the Varaha is considered as the personification of the Vedas. Like, as we know, the Vedas are said to be the breath of the Supreme Lord. And that breath was inhaled by Brahma. That's how he was enlightened in Vedic knowledge, by the Supreme Lord himself. And because Lord Varaha appeared from the nostril of Brahma, when Brahma breathed out, that's why Varaha is said to be the personification of the Vedas. Veda Vitanamurti. Yeah. So these are a few points. Then coming to the Nila Varaha or Rakta Varaha. So this Lord again appeared in the Chakshusha Manvantara in a reddish form to kill the demon Hiranyaksha. Yeah. I know most of us know about the birth of Hiranyaksha. But I'll just take a minute or two to brief how, the untimely union of Kashyapa Muni, who was the son of Brahma, and his wife. Anyone remembers the name of Kashyapa Muni's wife? He had many wives, but the mother of Hiranyaksha. Diti. Yeah, many wives he had, but we are talking here about Diti. How, Diti, because she became very envious of the other wives of Kashyapa Muni, who all had children. So she had this intense desire to bear a child. Yeah, and she was very impatient. So Kashyapa Muni, although tried to dissuade her, because the time was not right, because this desire she had was in the evening time, which is really not auspicious to beget a child or for union, because it's explained that the ghosts are roaming around at that time. So Kashyapa Muni dissuades her, but she insists, and Kashyapa Muni also gives in to her or he obliges, her appeal, and then he gives in and he unites with her, and they bear a child. They bear actually two twin sons are born. Yeah, and after this union, Kashyapa, obviously was very addresses Diti and says, it was because of your polluted mind, and because you didn't follow my instructions, uh, you will be having two demoniac sons who will torture the three worlds, who will torture innocent living entities, who will torture women. But ultimately, they will be killed by the Supreme Lord Himself. Yeah. And Diti, after hearing all this, becomes very repentant. And but seeing her transformation and patience, Kashyapa Muni, to encourage her, gives her some good news. And he says, although these two sons are demoniac and will be killed by the Lord Himself, but your grandson will be a great devotee. Anyone knows who the grandson he's talking about here?
Prahlad Maharaj.
Yes, Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. And this was very pacifying to Aditi, it's because she was aggrieved with all the, but she knew, who was in her womb. So she held these two sons in the womb for 100 years because she knew what kind of disaster was going to happen if these sons came out. So she was trying to delay the trouble. But anyways, eventually, the Bhagavatam explains all this. The two sons were born, but it was so, before their birth, also the whole atmosphere around, everything was so dark. All the demigods were fearful, and they approached Brahma. And then Brahma explains to these demigods, what is the story behind. And we all know Jaya Vijaya were cursed, by the four Kumaras, and how they ended up here. So the point is, so Hiranyaksha, who was a great demon, and he was really troubling everybody. He was traveling through all the three worlds, and whomever he met, he was conquering them. He was inducing anybody he met into a fight. And then now he wanted to fight, and he enters into the water. Yeah. So Varun Dev, Varuna Dev says, oh well, Varuna Dev, who is the demigod for the water, says, look, I'm not the right person to fight with. If you want to fight, you have to fight with the Lord, who is appeared as a boar. So then there is a fight between Varāha Deva and Hiranyaksha, but even when he met or he saw the Varāha incarnation, the boar incarnation, Hiranyaksha was so, he was a really fiery, broad, and strong demon, but he was abusing. He had such abusive language towards the Lord. He started saying all kinds of things. Oh, you are just only a mystic. Today I'm gonna kill you, oh fool. All these kinds of words he was using against the Lord. And I'm gonna kill you. And he was constantly hurling insults at the Lord. And Lord was patiently hearing everything. And then there's a huge fight. The Bhagavatam explains that Lord also is pained. When less like Lord is pleased by the words of his devotees, he's also sometimes pained by the abusive words of these demons. And now a huge fight happened between Hiranyaksha and Varahadev. And Hiranyaksha gave, with his powerful mace, gave a blow to Varahadev. Tried to. Of course, the Lord dodged it. But they both were the fight happened, and they started striking each other with their huge maces. Each of them were seeking their victory, but ultimately the Lord defeats Varaha, and by, I think, if I remember correctly, he struck him on his head, if I am right, uh, um, and kills Hiranyaksha demon, and yeah, yes. So I'll just read this part. Yes, Lord Baraha at last discharged his Sudarshan. At the moment, the weapon left his hand. A shudder ran through the heart of Diti, mother of Hiranyaksha, and her breast ran with blood. When the demon saw that his whole magic show was dispersed by the presence of the personality of Godhead, he tried to embrace him with his arms in order to crush. But the Lord again eluded him. Finally, the Lord slapped him at the base of the ear, and though struck indifferently, Hiranyaksha's eyeballs bulged out of their sockets, his body wheeled, and he fell down like a gigantic tree uprooted by the wind, his arms, limbs, and head broken and scattered. So this is how the Lord killed Hiranyaksha. And at that time, the demigods, they all offered Vedic hymns to the Lord. And the Lord, was very pleased. And then he left. Yeah. But one point I wanted to mention here is the fighting spirit of the Lord. Yeah. The Lord, the question may come up, does the Lord like to fight? Yeah. So when Lord spoke to Jay and Vijay, after the four Kumaras cursed them, so it's explained in the Bhagavatam, says that though you will have the mentality of demons, we are talking about Hiranyaksha, you will always think of me. I will experience, the Lord is saying, I will experience pure happiness by fighting with you too. Only the devotees can satisfy the Lord in every respect, including giving him the pleasure of fighting. So, they gave this pleasure to the Lord by fighting with him. So that was one point I wanted to mention. Yes, and the other thing was about yes. So I did mention about this, but I just wanted to elaborate a little bit that so whatever form the Lord appears in all of his eternal forms, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whether he's playing like a child in the lap of his mother, whether he appears as a half lion, half man in the form of Nrsingadev, or as Varāha in the form of the boar, he is that same supreme transcendental Lord. Prabhupada explains, just like wood is wood, fire is fire, same way God is God. He's always God in any form he takes. Yeah? But the materialistic mentality not only thinks that this form of boar cannot be transcendental, but even the human form also they think is material. Actually, always material. This is the biggest, Prabhupada says, is a disease. And why people cannot accept this? He says, It is very difficult, Prabhupada explains, it's very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because generally, majority of the people are very absorbed in the material conception of life. So for them it is impossible, because if I am very materially absorbed, then I always think I am this body. And I always see everything as just my body is temporary. So the Lord's body, whether he appears in whichever form, is also temporary. They keep the same bodily conception in mind when you tell them about the personal form of the Lord. So that's why they imagine, oh, when he appears, avyaktam vyaktimapannam. So they say from the impersonal, in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, either 23 or 24 text says, avyaktam vyaktima. From the impersonal comes personal. And they say this personal is form that he appears is material. Yeah, but all the forms of the Lord are transcendental. And by hearing about the appearance, the name, the form, the activities, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, we will be purified and we can go back home, back to Godhead. So I'll stop here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Please forgive me for any mistakes, and I request all the Vaishnavas on the call to please correct and add any comments you may have. Hare Krishna. Any comments?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice class. It is very nice to meditate on Varāha's history and life and everything, what are the purpose of his birth, like his appearance and everything. So it was good, to discuss all these things, from Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Any comments? Yes, Dronacharya Prabhu, you're going to say something? You're on mute.
No questions or any comments. Very nicely delivered. Very clear. Thank you for that. I just wanted to mention there's maybe some confusion about the fasting, because this year it's a little bit unique and peculiar as far as the way that we're fasting for Varāha and Lord Nityananda. So today is actually, we do a half-day fast. It's the Lord Varāha and the appearance day of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. But today is, we're observing the Ekadasi. Even though it's Dvadasi, my understanding is yesterday was unsuitable for fasting, so it's observed today. So some devotees were asking, well, we have to fast on Lord Nityananda's appearance day. It wouldn't be appropriate not to do that. So for those that are concerned with this and would like to continue the fast on Lord Nityananda's appearance day, you can just take a small grain in the morning to break your Ekadasi fast. And that way you won't become filled up and you'll still be able to honor your fast for Lord Nityananda Prabhu. I just wanted to mention that because a couple of people had asked me what to do in this situation.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. So what I heard is we are fasting until noon today and tomorrow.
Today officially, because the fast for noon, the fast for Lord Nityananda and for Lord Varāha is today. The reason, because tomorrow, or usually on the break fast day, the day after the Ekadasi is observed, it can't be an official fast day because you have to break the fast. But if you still want to fast for Lord Nityananda Prabhu on his appearance day, you can just take some, a grain of puff rice or something like that, just to break the fast, but then continue to fast. You don't have to have a full big breakfast, like one may do at the end of an Ekadasi, and then just have your feast at lunchtime or at the temple tomorrow evening. Is that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to belabor that point much, because your class was very, very sweet and good. I just wanted to bring that up because a couple of people had asked me about that.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Any other comments? Okay. Not then we'll conclude here. Thank you so much for joining. Wish you all a very happy Varāha, Lord Varāha appearance day. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai Prabhupada ki jai.
Kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo
Sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.